Good morning to everybody. It is now 12 minutes after 8 o'clock in the morning. 10 minutes after 8 o'clock in the morning. On Erev Yom Tov, Yud Daled Tishrei, Tov Shin Pei Vov. And we're learning the second and actually final class on the Maimer Teira Tziva, which is a Muga Maimer from Tov Shin Chav Gimel, which we literally learned 3/4 of it last night. Let me begin with this. Erev Sukkot, it says in Kabbalah Sfarim, is a time to give extra tzedakah. I don't know the reason. The Rebbe used to say he doesn't know the reason, but it's a time to give extra tzedakah Erev Sukkot. This is number one. And as we all know, that in Halacha there's something called Kimcha de Pischa, Mois Chitin, that before Pesach is supposed to give special tzedakah. And the Rebbe spoke about it in the 70s, that it says in Kisvei Arizal, based on a pasuk, which I don't remember, that just like you're supposed to give Kimcha de Pischa before Pesach, you're supposed to give Kimcha de Pischa before every Yom Tov. And one of the nice little pieces of Chabad history is Harav Mordechai Eliyahu, who was a very special Jew. He was probably in Madregas Tzaddik, who was extremely close to the Rebbe, who unfortunately did not know the Rebbe in his younger years. Yeah. So I heard that his first connection to the Rebbe was that he saw a Sikha where the Rebbe mentioned that in Tishrei you're also supposed to give tzedakah to help people make Yom Tov. So he wrote the Rebbe a note that it says in Kisvei Arizal. So the Rebbe answered him, I said it in the Fabrengen. You must have seen an unedited transcript where the Maniach took it out. But I mentioned, he wrote to the Rebbe that what the Rebbe was saying says in Kisvei Arizal. And the Rebbe answered him, I said it says in Kisvei Arizal. But whoever recorded it took it out from the Hanocha. So that's the story with the Rebbe and the Mordechai Eliyahu. So that's number one. Number two, it's the yard site of Rabbi Yisrael of Koznitz. The Koznitz of Magid, who passed away in the year Tov Kuf Ayin Hey. Tov Kuf Ayin Hey is this year 211 years ago. Now his passing is very important, because him and two of his chavedim, the Chayza of Lublin and Racham Mendel of Rimenov, had decided that the three of them were going to bring Mashiach together on Simchas Torah. And the Chayza, who was called the Chayza because he saw everything, this he didn't see. And when Simchas Torah came and they tried to bring Mashiach, because the Koznitz Magid had passed, it didn't work out so good. It's a long story. The short version of the long story is that the Rebbe mentioned it. In Parshas Kiseitze, I believe Kiseitze, Tavshin Memches, 1988, where the Rebbe talked about the idea of Tchikas Hakes, pushing Mashiach to come quicker. That there have been Yidden who were Tchikas Hakes, the Rebbe said, and he gave an example from Rabbi Yossi Paltiel, which is a famous Makubal who tried to bring Mashiach with a bunch of his Talmidim and it didn't work out well. And then the Rebbe wrote in the footnote, V'yashem Magid Mikoshitz. That's this story that I'm mentioning, or Achei Temimim, I think. Achei Temimim. Anyway, so they tried to bring Mashiach. So the Rebbe said that the difference between their efforts to bring Mashiach and our efforts to bring Mashiach, how the Rebbe phrased it, is because they wanted to bring Mashiach as a few individual tzaddikim. And we're bringing Mashiach through the whole door. In other words, the difference in Chabad and Poland. That in Poland, in Chagas, the Rebbe carries the entire burden, and the Chassidim only follow with Amunah. Al tiki yichei el yichaya. But in Chabad, there's avodah b'koyach atzmei. Everyone has to do their own work. And the Rebbe said, we could try to bring Mashiach using a trick that's never been tried before. And the Rebbe actually said, B'chanuni no, I challenge you to try it and see if it works. And the Rebbe's eitzah was in for Simcha. That's what the Rebbe spoke. And in that Sikha, which the Rebbe said that bringing Mashiach is through Simcha, the Rebbe mentioned the Chayza, Milublin, I think the Chayza, and the Koznitz Magid who passed away today, as he tried to bring Mashiach Tzidkenu. And of course, the deeper dimension to the story is the machlokes that there was between the Alter Rebbe and these same tzaddikim about Napoleon and Alexander, right? The Alter Rebbe wanted the Russians to win. And the Pelisha wanted Napoleon to win, Napoleon Bonaparte. Because if Napoleon had won, it would have been better for Yidden physically. And if Alexander would win, it would be better for Yidden spiritually. So it says in Teireh Shalom, with the Sichas of the Rebbe Rashab yet, that the Alter Rebbe knew for sure Mashiach is not coming at that time. And those tzaddikim thought they could bring Mashiach. So if you're bringing Mashiach, who cares if Napoleon is the emperor? Because it'll fix everything. And the Alter Rebbe knew that since Mashiach is not coming then, Napoleon cannot win because Napoleon is Tumah, and Napoleon is going to Chas v'Shalom drag Yidden down. So that's why they had this famous machlokes, who should win, the Russians, Alexander or Bonaparte as the Alter Rebbe called him. And as the story is told, the Rebbe repeated it by Fabrengen, that it was decided Lamaila that whoever would blow shofar first, his side would win. So the Kosher Samagad got up very early and he rushed through Shachris, quick, and Kriyas HaTeira, and he got to Tkiyas very early, and he picked up the shofar. He said, the Litvak at Mechoyth Yechap, the Litvak beat me to it. Alter Rebbe got up in the morning and he went to mikveh and he blew shofar before davening. I think no problems. Yeah. So Napoleon lost, Bonaparte lost, and Alexander won. But as I always say, it's ungefil, but that this only delayed it by 100 years, because the First World War, which was literally 100 years later, 1914, this was 1812, was a repeat of the same event. And although Germany lost, and Germany represented Napoleon, and the Rebbe Rashab said about Kaiser Wilhelm, the same thing that the Alter Rebbe said about Napoleon Bonaparte, Tachlis sinis neisem, I hate him absolutely. So the Germans lost the war, but the derech of Germany, the secularization, the moving to the big city, and the tests that we faced for the last 100 years, now it's 110 years, of modernity, of freedom. I saw someplace from the Rebbe where the Rebbe said to somebody, in a frustrated way, it looks like for us was left the test of freedom. And the test of freedom that we face is a very difficult test. It's a very, very hard test. To be frum and ehrlich in a modern world is an unusual kind of challenge. And the truth of the matter is, and I've heard this from uptight people, from conservative types, if you look at us, the frum world today, the Jewish world today, the frum world today, and think about how modern the world is, we're doing amazing. We're doing unbelievably well. Even though it doesn't look so pretty, we have such a significant percentage of our boys and girls that quote unquote OTD, but they come back and they bring others with them. This modern world, with all of the incredible tests, and the number of mitzvahs, Pashat mitzvahs, that's what mitzvah is, mitzvahs, dead leg film, yellow leg film, this one puts on film, this one lights a candle, this one eats a matzah, this one listens to shofar, is historically unprecedented, I think, in this aspect, in the tshuva aspect. I'm not speaking about tzaddikim. And this is the last step before Mashiach, as the Gemara says, and the Rambam paskins, that Mashiach's coming depends on tshuva. And tshuva depends on disorder. The disorder we have, the chaos we have in spades, in overdrive, and in the middle of this whole mess, there's a lot of mitzvahs, there's a lot of tshuva.